Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name is Chuck Wooden, and I'll be your host. The Veterans Corner is a show dedicated to our veterans, their families, and all those who support the veterans. It's a show we've been doing for quite some time, actually. We're closing on our 100th show. So, I mean, there's a lot of good material here, and tonight's no exception. With us is Ken Young. Kenny, we've known each other for a long time.
Long time.
And one of the big focuses that we've had on this show is PTSD, and for obvious reasons, and a lot of the remedies, not remedies, but ways to address PTSD. So, and what we're going to be talking about tonight is meditation. So, Ken, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too,
we
Chuck.
go back a good 20-something years, I think.
Least, yeah.
At least, and it's great to have you here. Now, I always ask the guests if you're a veteran. Now, I know you're a Navy veteran.
Yes.
Where did you serve?
I was on a guided missile destroyer in San Diego, and we spent about a year in dry dock. My last year in, I did 2 tours. A West Pack and a South Pack.
Okay.
And
I never made it to the West Coast.
Yeah, I spent my whole
strictly East Coast.
I spent my whole time in the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what time frame were you in?
1980 to 85.
Yeah. Right around the same time.
Yeah.
Around the same time I did.
Yeah.
Well, listen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
On behalf of the viewers,
it's good to be here.
The crew here at the Veterans Corner, we want to thank you for your service. Now, meditation is, I'm going to let you do all the talking on it, but what I mean, it's something that we've wanted to have on the show for quite some time, and it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
I know we've talked about
honor to be here.
We've talked about it in the past. Ken, what exactly is meditation?
Well, meditation, we don't really practice too much in this culture, so it's not something that's really common yet here. But the basic seed of meditation is focusing on your breathing. Give your attention to your breathing. And what that does is it helps you to not grasp for the future or not linger in the past, but bring yourself to the present moment. Because we are referred to on this planet as human beings and not human waitings.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are waiting for this or struggling to do this.
A lot of us. Most of us.
holding on to guilt and fear from the past. And none of that is healthy.
Yeah.
None of that is healthy for us. It tears at our physical body, eats away at our mental energy. And at the end of the day, you feel exhausted and you really sometimes haven't even done much of anything. But it's really just your mind racing. And until we learn to sit still and quiet ourselves, we keep on that path unless we take ourselves from it. And this is the path to do that.
Yeah. I know we've had many discussions on the subject. The few times that I've tried it, I mean, it definitely, I know we're going to talk more about the breathing part.
Right.
A couple questions down. When did you start, excuse me, meditating, and what got you started?
It's really kind of funny, but when I was a child, I would find myself just getting away from everybody. I grew up in a housing project in New Britain, and so I don't need to tell you how chaotic that can be.
Yeah.
So I would find myself just going to sit, just getting away from everybody and sit quietly, even if it was just for a few minutes. And I didn't even know what it was called. I didn't even know it had a name. I just knew that it helped me. And so as I got older, a friend of mine asked me, he said, "Do you still meditate?" And I said, what's that? He said, you know how you sit quietly sometimes? I said, oh, is that what that's called? That was I was probably in my early 20s when I found out what it actually was called. But I had been practicing the entire time, from the time I was a kid. Never even knew what it was called. And once I learned that it was a thing and I knew it helped me. So I said to myself, I know this can help other people. And so I started to study few books. Some of the books were really, really wordy, really long, and it wasn't very clear. I had a big influence was once the internet came along, there was a lot more information accessible. So I studied over the years to learn how I can teach other people how to do this. So now, if I say we cross each other at the mall, we only have a few minutes, I'll say to you before, during the conversation, I would suggest focus on your breathing. That's the most direct route. If you don't do anything else, give your attention to your breathing.
It's funny because it just jarred my memory from when we saw each other for the first time.
We ran into the store. Yeah.
It was at Stop and Shop.
Yep.
It was actually just down the street in Unionville.
Yep.
And sure enough, what he had just said was exactly the conversation we had.
And that conversation I've had with you, I couldn't even count the number of people that I've said that to. And that's why I give that little phrase right there. It's the quickest way to cut through everything. Because you could go into some long, wordy description of how to quiet yourself and, the depth of stillness or emptiness. But that's not really easy to grasp or to remember. So if I say focus on your breathing, you're breathing constantly.
Somebody we've had on here a number of times is Dr. Jean Folks from the area, and she's been on a few times with discussing PTSD. And we talked about the breathing part, and at one point people that have PTSD have a tendency to be really shallow in their breathing.
Yes.
Because they're almost in stealth mode
all the time.
Matter of fact, it was pointed out to me. Breathe, Chuck. So I mean, it's when we're talking about PTSD, the breathing. I think that's a very important step.
Huge. It's huge.
To put them forward into possible recovery.
And look at the title, post-traumatic.
Yeah.
It's after the trauma.
Yeah.
Once that trauma happens, as if, say you're a child and an adult traumatizes you in some way, you could spend the rest of your life clinging to those times of abuse and just let it make decisions for you because you're going to be in an emotional state.
Yeah.
Or through this process, we learn to let go. Let go. Focus on right now, right here.
Present.
We're human beings designed to be present here. If I'm still clinging to the past, I've given that person, whoever committed that act, or whatever situation I was in, I've given that situation power over the present because I refuse or I'm not able to let go. Once I learn to sit still and focus on my breathing, give my attention to my breathing, there's a few rhetorical questions you can ask yourself, like, in your mind, quietly, am I present? These don't have an answer, these questions. You just ask yourself the question in your mind, am I present? And as you ask the question, you'll give your attention to your breathing. Through this process now, my emotional state now begins to calm down. I begin to let go of any situation that happened prior to this moment. And it takes time.
I was going to ask you how long
it takes.
The first time doing it isn't going to.
No. There's not one thing. Let's look at it this way. It didn't take us overnight to get like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be able to fix it overnight. Yeah. But This is such to the human being that some people can just hear it once and they got it.
Yeah.
It works like that for some people. Adults, it takes a little longer. I taught at Farmington High, a summer school, and the kids picked it up. I had like 40 minutes class with different, every day, different classes would come through. They would get it in no time. One session and they had it.
Well, one thing I've learned just from the show, the guests we've had, and talking to people outside, outside here, is if it was one traumatic event, a lot of times it's easier, it's much faster to recover from that than a chronic situation.
Right.
Like if, law enforcement,
Right.
or full disclosure to the viewers that we know each other from, from
Right.
the Department of Corrections,
Right.
where it's a chronic thing where it's over and over each day.
Right. And this is why we practice every day.
Yeah.
A few minutes a day, a few minutes in the morning to start, and a few minutes in the evening. If you can't do both, just start with one or the other.
Yeah.
Just less than 5 minutes. We don't have expectations for what we're doing. We're just going to sit and focus on our breathing.
It could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
You can do it in your car on the way to, as long as you're paying attention to just simply what you're doing. And a lot of people believe that they're already present.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm present, but then you ask, the last time you drove somewhere, did you only focus on driving? Did you only focus on the road? No, because most of us get in the car and we start thinking about problems and issues and future and worries.
Did I stop at that stop sign?
Right, daydreaming, yes. So that takes away from the actual being present that we're working towards, because your mind is racing. You're thinking of things that aren't pertinent to right now. So when you sit down to eat, are you just focused on eating? If you're not, then you're not present. And most of us really believe we are, but until you work at it and you find out how active your mind really is, once you start to work at it, you start to realize, wow, I'm racing, my mind races a lot. I would go to bed and wake up the next morning and my eyes were closed, but I wasn't sleeping because my mind was racing all night.
And you can tell that. I mean, just you see people, and we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. You're talking on the phone and you're pacing all over the place because you're talking to have a conversation, but you're all over, your mind is all over the place.
Yes, and that on a daily basis, when you're interacting with people, your life, the quality of your relationship suffers because you're not present.
Yeah.
The more present you become, people around you pick up on it. They may not recognize what exactly is happening, but they know. For instance, my oldest daughter will come home from school and she'll want to tell me something that's happening at school. I give her my undivided attention, and she knows that. That as a process, and during the process of her growing up, she's going to be able to come to me with anything because she knows I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm listening. We suffer for that when our brain is thinking of some other thing or what we want to say in response to what they're saying, as opposed to listening. Just be quiet and listen.
I mean, your occupations, sales. When we retired, I went into real estate.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, you have to focus on. You have to be 100% in the present and listening to your clients.
Yes. Yes, in order to bring them what they want. Yeah. And the better you are at that.
And most people can, see that you're not there.
Right, they can tell. I left corrections and I went into security. I was a security officer at New Britain High School. At the time, it was the biggest high school in the state. There was close to 3,000 students there.
Wow.
And my background in corrections gave me insight into who to focus on, who to deal with.
Yeah.
And through the process of meditation, because I'm not carrying the stress and tension and fear from one day to the next, it helps me to be more impactful, especially in that big of an environment. I say to people, if you say we're out in your garden today, or working on your car and you get oily and dirty,
Yep.
you wouldn't get up the next morning and put those same clothes on to go to work. But we use the same cluttered mind from one day to the next. We never give ourselves time to.
You had mentioned that people can tell, not to expose some of our crew members, but when we walked in here today, they said, "You guys actually work together?" The complete opposite. I'm going 100 miles an hour, and you came walking in all calm. One of these days it may rub off on me.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. It took me pretty much the majority of my life, the process of going through this process. And like you were saying before, when you deal with the day-to-day trauma,
Yeah. The chronic
and that's
trauma.
where the process builds up. When you practice day-to-day, every day, it builds up to where those traumatic situations aren't as traumatic as they were. You see, because you're clearer, you're present.
Yeah.
You see, there was an explosion not too long ago at a concert, and they had the security tape on TV. And I called my daughter in the room. I said, "Watch this. The bomb went off. Everybody that was at the show just turned and looked. Nobody moved."
Yeah.
I said, "How come nobody's moving?" She said, "Because they're not present."
Yeah.
They have to figure out what's happening first. Then they start to scurry.
Delayed reaction.
Yeah, because you're not present.
Yeah.
If you're present, that bomb goes off, you're heading for safety.
Most people.
You're already out the door.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference.
As with all of our shows, they go by kind of fast.
Okay.
25 minutes. We've had some nice conversations, but we do want to get to that one part
Yes.
where you want to demonstrate to the viewers a couple minutes.
Yes.
And then after we're finished with that, we can jump into some of the other questions. I can see this. We do every return guests, and I can certainly see you coming back quite a bit.
I'd be more than happy to.
To give us an update on, your vision, your focus on helping the veterans out.
Yes, and we can also give more insight.
Yeah. So some of the stuff that we may not get to today.
That's fine.
But we certainly want to get to a sample meditation.
That's fine. Let me know when you're ready.
So I guess at this point, I should probably just keep quiet and let you take the show.
All right. So what we want to do is, you want to sit comfortably. Some people sit on the floor. You can sit in a chair. You want to sit up straight, because now that allows your energy to flow the way it's supposed to. You can close your eyes. You're closing our eyes so that our brain isn't thinking of what our eyes are seeing, so that it helps us not to get input into our brain. So we close our eyes, and when I say focus on your breathing, literally feel the air as it enters your nostril. Feel it as it goes down into your torso. And you feel it rise out. And as you feel the air rise out, it's hot. That's the stress and tension. So you're doing this consciously now. And when you're conscious of it, it allows your body to release that stress, the tension, the anger and fear. And as we release that, we're building patience within ourselves. See? So you become more patient with yourself, it automatically helps you to be more patient with those around you. So you're not so quick. You've been in a situation where somebody does or says something, and you go into a rage, or you get so angry, and you may even ask yourself, why am I getting so angry over this? The anger is already there.
Yeah.
And it's just waiting below the surface
To come out. It's a vent.
So the more I'm focusing on my breathing, the more calm I become, even when there's nothing happening. So now when something happens, I've already got a leg up on being calm. I'm already relaxed. I'm not caught up in what's going on around me. And that was priceless in the prison because the inmates will count on getting you upset so that they can do what they wanted to do. Yeah. So if every day you're calm and focused and steady, they know they're not even going to try you anymore.
Yeah.
So that already alleviates some tension, stress and tension from your life.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to try you. They know, okay, this guy's on top of his game. Don't even mess around.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So, a few minutes a day, under 5 minutes to start. Go somewhere. If you have somewhere quiet to go, go. If you don't, there are no distractions. The only thing that's a distraction is what we allow
To be a distraction.
to be a distraction. Other than that, it's just a noise.
Yeah.
Don't examine it. Don't try to figure out what it is. Just let it go and stay with your breathing.
Some of the things that, not to interrupt you, but just to show you that I have listened to you in the past. If you do get sidetracked a little bit, it's not a problem. You just come right back to it. You just come back to your focus.
Right. Bring it right back. Just bring yourself back, just thinking back to my breathing.
Yeah.
And by asking yourself, am I present? Or there's other rhetorical questions that you can ask that don't have an answer. Just ask the question, who am I?
Yeah.
Sit, close your eyes, and ask yourself, who am I? Or ask yourself, am I present? Just those two questions, quietly, not repeated fast, but nice, and take a nice slow breath. Who am I? Who am I?
Concentrate on breathing.
And
at all
just
times.
breathe. Or you can even think breathing in, breathing out. And repeating those will help. If we have just a minute, I want to help people anchor their energy.
We probably another minute, and then we can get into just a couple of closing remarks because there's 3 minutes left right now. So,
all right, quick minute. Okay, what you would do is just put your hand just up in front of you. Take a few breaths and ask yourself in your mind, where is my right hand? Don't move it, don't look at it, just ask yourself, where is my right hand? And you should feel like a tingling or a pulsing. That's the human conscious energy in your body. And when we're constantly in the mind racing mode, conscious energy can't be prevalent.
Yeah.
There's no room. So when you quiet yourself, it gives your body room for the conscious energy to anchor in. And that really can take over and help keep you relaxed and focused.
It's something that you just can't do one day. You've got to do this.
You got to work at it.
You have to work at it. You've got to get really disciplined.
Yeah.
2 minutes left.
Because stress happens every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Now, what's real quick? We're definitely going to have you back. But what's your vision as far as helping our veterans with PTSD? I mean, you're going to start doing classes. I think that's what we had talked about.
Yes. If you said you know a contact person that can put me in touch with someone, I will definitely show up to give classes.
I'll get the information from you. And what I'd like to do right now is just to give the viewers, I don't know if you want to give out your email address.
Yes. It's breathe quiet.
Breathe quiet.
Breathe quiet at gmail.com.
That's easy.
Really, that's why I do that. Breathe quiet.
Breathe quiet.
Because you're going to quiet yourself through breathing.
Yeah.
And that helps you remember that.
If you're out there and you need, and you find this, I mean, obviously it's very informative. We got a minute left, I'm being told. So, there's a lot of stuff that we should go through, but we can't. So we're definitely, maybe in next month we'll have you back.
Just let me know. I will be back.
And there's a lot of stuff.
This is very important. Our veterans need this. Police officers need this.
All first
DOC,
responders.
first responders.
DOCs, DOC staff, yeah.
Because when you show up in an emergency, and if you're calm and focused, you're in.
Well, listen, once again, great seeing you.
You too, Chuck.
I'm glad we hooked up again, touched base.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's invaluable.
It
this
is?
information, and that's what this show is about, is trying to get help out there. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, the American Legion family at Post 209 in Forestville, and also the Pam Shea, who's been very generous donating a few items for the show. That's about all the time we have for the show. I want to thank our guests, as I did, for being here. I want to thank the viewers for watching. I'm Chuck Wooden. See you next time at the Veterans Corner. Good night.